Meanwhile, the California crime wave is reaching a boiling point. Car break-ins are up, listen to this number, 750% in San Francisco. Hope you liked your Tesla. On Monday, a TV news crew in Oakland was held up by armed robbers while reporting on the city's crime spike. And in L.A., luscious L.A., Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva says he's taking matters into his own hands, vowing to clear the famous Venice Beach boardwalk of its homeless camps by July 4th after a recent murder there and tons of crimes. He's also calling the city's Democrat Mayor Eric Garcetti and the city supervisors, actually the LA County supervisors, quote, architects of failure. So how bad does crime and homelessness have to get in California before Democrats admit their ideas have not been doing any justice to this beautiful part of the country? Let's meet our man panel. It's Hump Night with WPA Intelligence CEO and GOP pollster Chris Wilson is back. And looky there, comedian and host of the Part of the Problem podcast. His political fortunes are growing by the day. He's an intellectual giant and we adore him. Dave Smith is back. And we've got Democrat strategist, former Biden campaign surrogate, and the most recent reader of my 2013 memoir, Kevin Walling, is here. Welcome,
so good. So good.
Oh, you're
I'm loving it.
That. Oh, well, they call me the McDonald's of penmanship. So thank you all for being here. Chris, I go to California quite frequently. I'm heading back there on Friday for a nice stint in the homeland. And Los Angeles is no longer recognizable. There are tent cities everywhere. You cannot drive in any part of the city without seeing that. And Eric Garcetti is blaming it on the federal government. So what's going to happen here in this fight between the LA County Sheriff and the LA Mayor?
Well, it's interesting that these issues are being brought to light and Democrats are having to pay attention because they're coming from Democratic mayors. But, you know, the way far left policies are erasing 40 years of progress in American cities and turning back the clock to the crime-ridden, homeless-dominated dystopias of the 70s is astonishing. I mean, from coast to coast, we're seeing leftist mayors and councils undermine law enforcement, push policies like defund the police, and destroy the cities that they've been elected to lead. And we already see that backfire. I mean, you look at it in New York, even a majority of Democrat primary voters said they saw crime and public safety as the top issue in the mayoral election. And even in notoriously liberal Austin, they just passed a public camping ban with nearly 60% of the vote after the mayor and city council pretty much turned the city into one giant homeless camp. These policies and issues have been clear. Republicans routinely beat Democrats in the 70s, 80s, and up until the 90s when Clinton-era Democrats got smart and abandoned the socialist-tinged policies for cities. But now you have this whole new generation of Democratic socialists that are failing their cities in predictable ways, and it's going to pay off at the ballot box for Republicans.
Maybe. I don't know that Republicans have the answers on homelessness either. I have to be honest with you. But Dave, are you upset?
You look what Kevin Faulconer did in San Diego. He did a good job of solving the homeless problem there.
He made more inroads than any other mayor in California. It's not helping him in the governor's race. All right, so Dave, let's talk a little bit about the fight between Alex Villanueva and Eric Garcetti. Do you like a pissing match, Dave?
Oh yeah, no, there was a good old-fashioned pissing match. Sure, let's have one. I think that what's very interesting about this is that as you know, for me and you being libertarians, and we always talk about how the government gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Of course, you know, the federal government is trying to get this $6 trillion spending bill in. California is the biggest state government in the union, and yet, as the government tries to take on more and more roles, you know, we want to solve climate change and inequality and all of these lofty visions. It's obvious for everyone to see that the most basic functions of government can't be achieved. And everyone notices this in the country, not just libertarians, just normal people notice that we can no longer balance our budgets or win our wars or protect our borders. In California, you can't have piss-covered drug addicts on your streets.
Oh, you can.
I mean, this is a very basic function.
They're all over the place. You cannot swing a dead cat without hitting
I would just say that the debate.
junkie.
the debate about defunding the police. Look, I think this misses the mark a little bit. You can certainly say that police don't need military gear and armored vehicles and SWAT teams around every corner.
You can end no-knock raids and qualified immunity and all that stuff. But
none of that is the reason why there's homeless people. The truth is that these liberal cities have decided that they're not going to enforce property rights, that they're going to allow people to live on public property, and they're going to allow people to shoplift and commit all carjack and all of these property crimes and not enforce them. That
they're not.
is
They're
really
not enforcing
the heart of the
them,
problem.
and it goes to show that they think that human beings are disposable. So, what is the solution, Kevin?
Well, that's a complicated question for sure. I mean, you look at the numbers, there's 66,000 folks in Los Angeles that don't have adequate housing. And this is a problem that isn't just in the short term. This is a long-term problem that is a huge issue, not just for Democrats, but for Republicans across the board. And to your point, Kennedy, I don't think there's easy answers for this. You have some tent cities that have been set up that cost $2,500 a tent to run. That's the kind of the median rental amount in the city of Los Angeles. You could pay rent for all these folks living on the streets. The Architectural Association has come up with some zoning ideas, with some public housing ideas. But clearly, this is a crisis that doesn't have easy solutions.
No, but guess
and
what? The more money you throw at it, the more people will move to Venice. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I mean, I would too. It's gorgeous out there. If I was homeless, that's where I'd want to be.
You could have all the social services you want, 3 hots and a cot, you know, bed bugs and knife fights, but 6 in 1. All right, Man Panel's back in just a little bit. However, coming up, former President Trump went to the border today. Was the visit a publicity stunt, or will it force the Biden administration to do something different? And we got a brand new Kenna Dogs. If you haven't seen it yet, here's a taste of what to come. This is Frank lounging in a chair. So sexy, Frank. Hashtag Kenna Dogs. Make your pup a star, just like Frank.